Hello there, I'm Berdish and this is Epic Tabletop, where we try to give you the best hobby experience. Now, today we go straight into it. By it I mean review of Wargames Atlantic plastic set of knights dated 1150 till 1320. I got this set yesterday in a mail and I thought I will share my impressions with you. Firstly, we will check the sprues, what's on them and how they look. Then we will assemble quickly few knights, then there will be comparing time, mainly with Styriwar Miniatures from still going Kickstarter. At last but no least, I will talk some history, trying to see if these miniatures are really good for the period stated on the box. Now, if you like what I do, please consider subscribing, liking and commenting my materials, it helps greatly. Now, let's get going. So the box looks rather nice with some graphic supposedly representing what is inside the box and some picture of actual miniatures, nicely painted. It also says that we will be able to build 24 minis out of this set. On the back of the box we have some fluff and association with Footsword, Baron's War Game. Curious? Okay, before we look inside, there is no way we won't address the thing that makes my eyes soar. Namely, the dates on the box. So, this set supposedly addresses almost 200 years in history.
You serious?
This is all I'll say about this for now. Later I will elaborate on the history side of things, like I said earlier. Now let's look inside. Okay, so it looks like we have 4 identical sprues with 6 miniatures on each. So here is a shot of a whole sprue. Technically these sprues look rather nice, no surplus plastic visible and mold lines are rather minimal. Detail on the minis is not superbly sharp, I mean it is no Victrix and for sure it is not a 3D print, but otherwise the minis look rather okay. Knights' torsos are split in the waist. 4 upper bodies have left hands already attached, so shields can be attached. And 2 have no arms at all, so are open for other options. When it comes to what's on the sprue, other than knights, we have 6 kite shields of various sizes, one of the older design, which is a rather nice touch. Lots of swords, 6 of them in the scabbards, and 7 arms holding swords. Other than that, we have 2 arms holding falchions and 2 more holding same falchions but in both hands. I mean, I think these are falchions, right? We have 2 double hand axes and 2 one-hand smaller axes. 2 arms holding maces and 3 holding warhammers. Okay. And lastly, we have 1 arm holding spear. And of course we have helmets, or I should say heads, 12 in total. First of all, I must say I would like those heads in general to be bigger. We have 2 bare heads, one wearing chainmail coif only, and the rest are helmeted heads. We can divide them into subcategories like 4 open helmets, 3 enclosed helmets, and 2 fully closed great helms. So, I will talk about those a little more when I'll discuss historical adequacy of this set. Now, let's put few of these minis together. Sprues are nicely put together, I mean, there's enough space for your cutters to do their job with ease. Pegs holding individual parts are small enough, so getting the parts off the sprue without damaging it can be done without a problem. Now, putting those minis together is also easy, although I must say for the most part I do not enjoy the process in general, especially when building a big army. There are no instructions in the box, so if you didn't assemble Wargames Atlantic minis before, you may be confused for a second when it comes to weapon consisting of 2 parts. So, for example, if you have an arm holding a double hand axe marked as A1, in order to find matching second arm, you need to find one marked as A2. I suppose it's simple enough when you get used to it. So, minis look kinda cool when you assemble them, at least those three. Dude with two-handed falchion look kind of weird, a bit like some samurai. Not to mention that I have no knowledge of this kind of weapon, and it seems pretty pointless from practical point of view. Still, he looks fine. I never got Fireforge Foot Knight set because I didn't like the way they look on pictures. I admit that I've never saw them in person, if I may say so. These Wargames Atlantic dudes, I like the way they look. Having said that, I will say again, detail on these minis is rather soft. Now, when you put Styriwar Resin Miniatures next to them, Wargames Atlantic Miniatures are losing much of its appeal straight away, in my opinion. I chose unpainted Styriwar minis in order to be more fair. I mean, this guy has started to paint, but I had to use him for this comparison because these two minis are identical when it comes to pose. So, when it comes to size, Wargames Atlantic heads look smaller, especially the ones without helmets. Helmeted ones actually look similar enough. Also, Styriwar minis are taller. I mean, Wargames Atlantic on those bottle bases look similar, so it's okay enough, I think, for those minis to be in the same unit even. I always like to compare shoulder width. This can tell you if the proportions of the minis are similar. If they are, the rest, I suppose, is a height difference, just like with us, normal people. These two minis look pretty much identical in this regard. The biggest difference is still visible with these two. Now, when it comes to details, what can I say? This is not the same league. 3D printed Styriwar minis are blowing away Wargames Atlantic plastic mold minis. I've been doing some other stuff lately, and only for this material I have returned the Styriwar minis, and when I was browsing through ones I have printed but not painted yet, again I was delighted how beautiful these minis are. I'm not affiliated with Styriwar minis in any way. I was asked for a review in exchange for a content of the Kickstarter. I did that and I hope you watched it. If not, link is down in the description. Anyway, this material is just me comparing Wargames Atlantic minis to what I would say is a golden standard for the moment when it comes to minis from turn of the 12th and 13th century. Okay, back to the minis at hand. Traditional plastic minis have technological limitations, like all these belts that are actually part of the mini, while on the 3D printed one you do have a freedom with those details. Well, with all of the details. And they will look well proportioned and sharp from every angle. While plastic minis, I mean, what is this lag? My guess this dude is sick or something. Okay, for the record, Games Workshop can do wonders with plastic mold minis, but that is usually at the price of having a zillion parts per mini, and as a result you get a monopose mini anyway. There is this video on YouTube by Trovarion, whom I like much, where he's talking about this very issue, meaning growing number of elements to assemble in GW kits. He's making some very good points. Anyway, so we established the Styriwar minis are much prettier than Wargames Atlantic ones. Yeah, I'm being blunt, sorry. But there are other factors to consider. I talk about this always, but it is only fair to mention. 3D prints will be much more brittle than plastic ones, so you may consider that, especially if you're a tournament player and you plan to move your armies often from place to place. Also, I mean, that depends on the printer and how the minis will be printed, but you may get some layer lines. I do get them on my somewhat dated printer, but I couldn't care less about those. For some people, this can be an issue though. But like I said, while using 3D printers presently available on the market, you can easily print without layer lines visible. Okay, now let's get historical. Okay, so now after establishing that this Wargames Atlantic is an okay plastic set, let's butcher it when it comes to historical accuracy. Styriwar minis on the right are here just as a reference to what I'll be talking about. Okay, well, first of all, it is worth mentioning that you do not get what is on the box art. I don't mean the picture of actual minis, but art depicting 3 knights. On this picture you see varying surcoats, well, not to mention helmets, but surcoats in various shape and length. You do not get that in this set. What you get is long below knee surcoat on all miniatures. We will get to why it is important. So, the entry date for those knights is 1150. So, mostly this is okay, because we can say that surcoats were there, which is not the same as to say that everyone was wearing them. Around 1150 male leggings became a thing. Chainmail chaussees, I don't know how to say this, let's stay with leggings. So, basically male armor was protecting the whole body by 1150, except the hand palms. We know from medieval sources that the hand palm protection appeared at the end of 12th century, so minis are not correct in this regard. They should be more like this guy. I suppose this is a small thing, but if you want to be precise, this set is not correct for 1150 in this regard. Let's move forward in time and armor development. 1200s, 13th century, so body protection is still predominantly male. Let's have a few words though about surcoats. They were either sleeveless or with short sleeves, and it started to appear after the First Crusade. Having said that, it is not like everyone was wearing them straight away, like I already said. It took long years for this trend to spread, and we have lots of iconographic sources to confirm this, for example. If you look into Wikipedia and search for surcoats, it says that in the early 14th century, surcoats was shortened, allowing greater freedom of movement and eliminating the danger of a rider getting his spurs caught in the garment. So it took them over 100 years to figure that out. I mean, to shorten the surcoat. I don't think so. And again, we do have sources that seems to confirm that surcoats got shorter much faster. When I say shorter, I mean like knee shorter. 14th century sees surcoat became jupon, which is much shorter thing and altogether different. Also, relaxation in religious doctrine and fashion from Italy also played a part in shortening surcoats around beginning of 13th century. My point here is that all Wargames Atlantic minis have rather long surcoats, so, well, do your own conclusions. Okay, you can follow the Wikipedia interpretation and use those for the whole of 13th century. But at the end of aforementioned century, there were also different changes that started to appear. Experimentation with partial plates as addition to chainmail, like greaves or plate shoulders or kneecaps. Suffice to say that none of Wargames Atlantic minis is armored in this fashion. But this is nothing. There is much greater thing that pretty much disqualified these minis as a knight representation for end of 13th and early 14th century. And this thing is a coat of plates. It seems like it was popularized especially by German knights. It was a combination of surcoat and plates, like here on this historical evidence of 1250 statue of Saint Maurice in the Magdeburg Cathedral, Germany obviously, wearing a coat of plates. This armor offered much greater protection than just mail, and it was very fashionable, so naturally it became immensely popular, pretty much everywhere. It is said, for example, that in 1295, army of King Philip IV of France was dressed in coat of plates. I mean, all of them, pretty much. And by that I mean the knights, of course, but to be fair, by the mid-14th century, this armor became so affordable that it was also used by troops of lesser status. So, about Wargames Atlantic minis, no coat of plates whatsoever. Enough said. I mean, come on. Wargames Atlantic pretty much says that armor went from this, which is a fair representation how their minis look like, with ending period of 1320 to this in just a couple of years. Again, draw your own conclusions. And we also have helmets. These are not very good. I mean, I'm already tired riding this set mercilessly to the ground, so I'll be brief. So, we have two great helms, which shouldn't be used before 1220, I would say. So, not good for 12th century and early 13th century. But also, they are of a different size? Why is that? It looks ridiculous. I hope that difference in size is not based on the fact that in the late 14th century, which Wargames Atlantic said do not encompass, Great Helm became bigger in size. But that happened because it was not a standalone helmet anymore. There was another helmet underneath, hence the size increase, like here in this graphic depicting Black Prince. But with this set, in this time period, it makes no sense. Other even greater sin is lack of kettle hat helmet that became very popular at the turn of 12th and 13th century. We often associate this helmet with lesser troops, but it is not accurate. It was pretty popular with knights as well. So my point is, options are limited when you want to go for specific periods and be accurate. I think there should be twice as many helmets in this set, allowing for greater flexibility. Anyway, few closing words. This set is mediocre at best when you take all its aspects into consideration. Minis are okay and poses look fine, but historical accuracy is in shambles. I don't know if this is due to poor research. I rather think that because this set is trying to be jack of all trades. It does not work for me. I'm gonna stick with Styriwar for now and wait for Victrix stuff that promises better quality and possibly more accuracy with history in mind. Having said that, I wouldn't mind playing some 14th century battle against opponent using these minis. Of course, my troops would win because they all would wear coats of plates. But jokes aside, if you are not bothered by all that historical stuff, like I said earlier, these are not bad minis, just not great either. In the end, I do hope Wargames Atlantic will continue this line. I would be happy to get some 13th century mounted surgeons in plastic or from their Wargames digital 3D files. All in all, I like Wargames Atlantic for what they are bringing to our hobby. Their plastic sets supplemented by printed editions or parts that change some sets into something different is a great idea, and I wish them well. I do own some of the sets, namely Hobbits, Italians for World War II and Conquistadores, and I'm sure I'll buy some more in the future. But with these knights, I'll certainly stop with this one set. With this, I leave you. Just a reminder, if you want me to continue, please consider subscribing. Also, if you didn't check the Styriwar Kickstarter, it is still running for a few more hours. So just, give them a look, cause these are really exceptionally beautiful minis. And well, till next time, cheers!